All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel. Welcome to the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, episode number 252. As you guys are logging in, I know we're 5 minutes early, but my dialogue partner, Mr. Alaniz, he and I were excited to get this started. So here we are. As you're logging in, be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button, and feel free to continue doing so throughout the dialogue. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. So my dialogue partner, as I've said to many of you before, sometimes you get the pleasure of getting to know my partner the same time that I do. But Richard and I actually go back a number of years, but we never really spoke, right? So it's my great pleasure to welcome to the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, Sifu Richard Alaniz. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Dwight. I've seen some of your programs, and I'm elated to see that you're sharing different perspectives from different people that were involved in the early years with Dan Inosanto and, mostly second generation, and their experiences with first generation students.
Yeah, because that's the thing, of the first generation, there's not that many left.
No.
So really, the only way is to talk to people like you, right? Mm-hmm. So like I told you, I'm excited to talk to you, but I have to control myself because my questions for you come from all over, from all the different eras and from all the different areas of your experience, right? So I got to be calm because I want to talk about stunt work, in New Mexico, but I want to talk about Cabri Cabrong. I want to talk about Herman Suwanda, but we can't do all of it at once. So let me try to settle down and let's do the chronological thing. Your start in martial art was in traditional karate, right? In Shotokan.
Yeah, when I came back from Vietnam, I had my best friend was already a black belt in Shotokan Rubakai. He was also a combat veteran in Vietnam, maybe a little less than a year ahead of me. And he had already been training. His dad was a boxer, so he was an awesome fighter, late Marty Holguin. So when I came back, he took me to the side, I was 11 Bravo combat infantry. And he said, Richard, you need to start training in martial arts. If not, if you get in a situation, you can't pick up a gun and start shooting people. And because that was easy for us, especially grunts. It was nothing new. And within 24 hours, they pulled me out of the bush, literally. And then I'm standing at Travis Air Force Base in San Francisco within 24 hours. So there was no type of
transition.
No transition. So anyway, I started training with him. And then briefly, I was in Santa Fe Springs. I was a barber at 18 years of age, and licensed barber. And a guy came to our shop and he said, can I borrow a broom? So it happened to be Pete Lucas, and he was a senior student of Ed Parker in Kempo. And I go, sure. So I let him borrow. And I go, what are you opening up next door? And he said, a martial arts school. I go, really? Which one? He goes, Kempo. I go, is it Kempo or Kenpo? He goes, no, Ed Parker's Kempo. I go, oh, cool. So when I finished, I'd go over there and I would help him clean up and set up. And he said, listen, if you help me out, I'll train you for free. I go, bingo. Well, at the time, I didn't know he was training with Pete Jacobs and Bob Bremer, who were also Kempo guys. Right. Now, when Bruce, Sigun Bruce, opened up the Chinatown School, the history was he was first, of course, in Washington, then in Oakland, and Inosanto, and there was, I think, 8 of them or 6 of them that jumped in a car. I don't know if it was 1 car or 2 cars, and they headed out to Oakland because they wanted to meet Bruce because Inosanto was talking about him. So they were hooked. They saw what he could do. If you want details on that, I can share that. But anyway, they were hooked. So they said, if you ever start teaching in Los Angeles, were interested. So Bruce opened up the Chinatown School. So the cards, I did an article called Remember the Magic, and it was a
Yeah.
1993 Inside Kung Fu cover article. And on Bob, the late Bob Bremer and the late Pete Jacobs, who were my teachers for 9 years, and then years after that. After 9 years, I started training with Guru Inosanto. But anyway, from training with Pete Lucas, I got my black belt with him, and then I was helping him teach, and he shut the school down. We went into his garage, and you know what happens, when you do that, start losing students. And he said, you know what, Richard, you've earned the right for me to take you to meet Bob and Pete so he could start training with them. I didn't know who they were. I knew who Bruce Lee was, but I didn't know who Bob and Pete were. So they were teaching underground in Pete Jacobs' garage in San Gabriel. So when they introduced me to him, they matched me up with Bob Bremer. Now, I'm a young guy, but I'm not a pushover. I'm a combat vet, and I'm not afraid of anything at that time. Now I'm afraid of my shadow, So I go up against Bob and I go, okay, here's an old man. I'm pretty fast. I'm young and all that. And before he started, he goes, hey, your shoe's untied. You better tie it. And looked down and he went, oh, like that. And he caught me. And I looked at him and then he goes, I bet you'll never let anybody do that to you again. I go, no, sir. And he took me under his wing.
Right.
Now,
yeah,
Bob,
that's a hell of an introduction.
Now, Bob is an awesome, awesome fighter. He doesn't care about anything other than kicking ass. And his nickname was a Chinatown ass kicker given by Bruce, because when anybody would come in from the street and wanted to see what's going on and challenge, he would put Bob against them and Bob would wipe them up. So that's Bob's story. And Bob was a no-nonsense guy. Whereas with Pete Jacobs, he taught me how the machine runs. And that is very interesting because from there I was 9 years and I started 2 weeks before Phil Rapana. And Phil Rapana was training in Kempo with Steve Aaron, who was another black belt under Parker. Then he started training with Inosanto, and he was telling me that he was training there. He said, you should come over here. So he started 2 years before me, and he didn't end up going to Bob's or Pete's for that period, I believe. Then I went over there, and Bob and Pete wrote me a letter. So I walk over there, and in fact, I went with Randy Williams. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went with Randy Williams. He said, I'm going to go to the academy. Do you want to come with me? I go, yeah. And that's when he introduced me to Guru Dan. Then I went back with a letter from Bob and Pete, and it was a 6 or 8 month waiting list. You remember, at that period, it was really hard to get in. He read the letter, and right then and there, he got me by the arm and took me to the office and said, Paula, sign him up.
Right.
So I think a lot of people didn't like that because, that was their daddy. And here their daddy brings in this orphan kid and puts his arm around him right away. But see, a lot of
the orphan kid came with a letter.
He came with a letter and some experience. So a lot of those guys didn't know that I was already 20 something years older than them. These were guys like Bert Richardson and Damon Caro, Rick, the guy that's stunt double for Batman, Richard, God, what's his last name? I forget his last name. Citron, yeah. And of course, Chad Stahelski, who's the director of the.
Let me. Can you see the picture I just put up?
Yeah.
Right. So the Cabri Cabron class.
That's a Cabri Cabron class from starting from the left front row. That's Richard, Damon, Bert Richardson, Chad Stahelski, myself, and behind me is Phil Rapana. And then I think from top going left, let's see. That's Dan
Rob
Sullivan.
Kelly.
That's Don Sullivan from the top left going to right. Then the late
that's Salem, isn't it?
Salem, yeah. And we lost him, I think, a year ago. Of course, Paula, Guru Dan, and I forget the name of the guy with the beard.
That's Rob Kelly from North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
him training at the academy, but like you, I never knew him or talked to him. And I kind of pretty much stayed to myself. I was older, and I was the new boy on the block. So
Yeah.
whenever we were partnering up, I would always wait because nobody wanted to partner with me. I
With the
would
old
wait
guy.
and partner up with the guy that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
I would partner up with him. And in the interim, I got respect from those guys because I kind of knew what I was doing. I already had 9 years with Guru Pete, Seafood Pete and Seafood Bob. And so anyway, as the time went on, I started to know people. But the number one guy that I like to talk about is Bob Reich. Do you know Bob Reich?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, my God. In my opinion, he would be the number one guy as far as anything that follows Inosanto. Now, Bob Rice, Guru Dan and Paula used to live with him there in Marina del Rey. Bob had a 3-level
Oh, yeah.
beautiful home. And
Okay. I've met him.
okay.
I've met him. Yeah.
Now I remember saying, all those notes that Guru Dan has in those duffel bags?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen? Now, Guru Dan Inosanto is a walking encyclopedia of martial sciences, especially in the Kali, Silat. He just, I say if you graduate as a senior from the Inosanto Academy, you have equal to a PhD in martial sciences. If you've been training there for a time. And this is usually the group when I was there, you were there. All of these guys were really good martial artists and they were serious. And they didn't just go 2-3 years, they went for years. And you got a lot of people that just trained in the seminar circuit. But these are the guys that were Guru Dan, forever and for a long time. So I told Bob, I said, what's going to happen to all of that when Guru Dan passes away? I'm just concerned about that. Because I train with Guru Dan not only to get his knowledge, but also to learn how to teach the way he does.
Right.
See, because I was already advanced as far as my maturity. And so he goes like this, Bob Rice said, and he walks away and he comes back and he puts his box right on my lap. And I open it up and it's all Guru Dan's notes. I go, what are you doing with all these? How'd you get these? And he goes, Richard, I'm the one that organized it for him.
Right.
So Bob Reich, this guy can do a 300 lock flow in jiu-jitsu. He's a judo master, jiu-jitsu, Kali, Silat. This is a guy, and I have a lot of respect for him, and he's extremely humble, and we're very good friends. So you have a photo of me and Guru Dan where he has his arm around me. Well, that was at one of the seminars that Bob had in Northern California, and he flew him in a helicopter, and who else came with him? Oh, Master Chai, and also God, what's his name? He's a stunt coordinator, did really good. He did a book on Bali song. He's one of Guru Dan's.
Jeff Amato.
Jeff Amato, which I'm very good friends with him too. And I forgot his last name. But anyway, they came in. So Bob hired 8 of us and I was doing my Silat, and it's mostly Pindagar, Herman Sawandas. Now, the one thing about the academy, Guru Dan would bring in various masters.
Right.
And the reason being is Bruce, according to Bob and Pete, Bruce felt that at that time there were 60 students to one master, right? In the old school stuff, or 100 students to one master. Then he said, what's better than that is 6 students, one master.
Right.
He said, what's better than that is one master, one student. Privates. And what's better than that is 1 student, 6 masters or more. That's JKD. Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't understand Jeet Kune Do is not the movements, according to Bob and Pete. Jeet Kune Do is a philosophy. Jun Fan is the art. The trapping and all that, that's Jun Fan. That's modified Wing Chun, and Bruce added all this other stuff. Nobody can practice Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do because it's Bruce's. Nobody can do Richard's Jeet Kune Do because that's mine. Mm-hmm. Our jacket is tailored for ours, just like nobody can emulate Dwight's Jeet Kune Do. They can train with you, but they can never be Dwight. Because if you're really teaching Junfan JKD, you're teaching them to tailor their own jacket, what fits them. Way back, you had a 6'2" guy training in Japan, where his teacher, his sensei, was maybe 5'2", 5'4". The teacher would get in a horse stance, want everybody head level with him. So here, this guy 6'2"'s got his legs way spread out. See, so that teacher was putting his jacket on that 6'2" American. Bruce said, "No, you can't do that." So this is a different perspective, and I can only share with you what was given to me by Bob and Pete. So in the interim, I trained with a lot of the masters that Dan brought in, and I don't know why, but a few of them, for some reason, they wanted to use me as a dummy, as an uchi. I don't know why. And Kakoy Cañete, right? For some reason, he'd always pick me. And then Professor Wally J. I think because I would ask pertinent questions.
Right.
And you know as well as I do, if you really want to learn, you need to be the dummy. Because you can feel
on the receiving end. Exactly.
You can feel it. You know, you can feel the energy. Kakoy Cañete, he was the most elusive. Because we would be doing, we would be rolling, and he'd be doing all kinds of, and I'm trying to survive. And in the interim, he would catch me a few times, and I looked at the students and I go, wow, if that was a blade, I'd be dead. He was so elusive. So I learned that from him just by touching his hands, by feeling it, you see.
I want to ask you, I want to ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
I get the feeling that in some shape or form, you might say that martial arts saved your life.
It did.
Yeah. I get that feeling somehow.
When you come back as a combat veteran, you're coming back with PTSD. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was suffering from it. So my buddy Marty knew it would help me. So martial arts was the boat, the vehicle, the vessel for me to combat the PTSD. You see, and of course, you know, with time you need to go to counseling and stuff like that. And my first degree is in fine arts. My second degree is in psychology. So I was a stuntman for a few years. And when I retired, first my wife made me retire because it was like suicidal. I was doing some crazy stunts, horse stunts. You know, I'm a cowboy. You know, I was doing horse stunts. I've had horses fall on me. I've done high falls onto horses. I've done bulldogs. I've done saddle falls, horse falls. And it's dangerous. And I'm paying the price, you know, shoulder replacement, shoulder operation, hand operation, shattered bones, herniated disc twice. But I love it. It was an adrenaline rush. But then I learned later, my last film was, you know, I was on Scorpion King, Dr. Quinn.
So here's the Dr. Quinn. So that's you coming off the roof, right?
Yeah, I did that 4 times. And the guy who was on the horse, I won't mention his name, but he was afraid of me because a stunt coordinator, and there was other coordinators there, and he wanted to show me off. He said, "You got to see my stunt Indian guy." You know, now I'm not full blood, I'm half breed, but he goes, "You got to see this guy," because I showed him some of my knife work and stuff, and there's another story on that. So anyway, I'm jumping off of this roof, and there's a cavalry guy. He stops, he pulls his gun, and I leap off to tackle him off the horse. Now you see that dirt. Usually we dig it up, you know, about this deep, and we put falling pads and we put dirt. So he goes, "Richard, you're going to jump off of this roof, and we need to do it quick because it's the last shot, and we're losing daylight." I go, "Okay, let me get the pick and the shovel and all that." He goes, "No, you can't." I go, "What do you mean, no, I can't?" He goes, "You can't." I said, "The hell I can't. Watch me dig it." He goes, "You can't." And he moved the dirt. It was asphalt. So I only had this much of dirt with asphalt. And I look at it, he looked at me, "Are you a stunt man or aren't you?" And I go, in front of those guys, the stunt coordinators, there was 3 of them there. And I go, "Cowboys don't cry and Indians don't give a shit. I'll do it." So I went up there. Now I got to be hidden, and there's two buildings, and the only time I could see the horse come is to look between the crack. Then I'm to get up, and I have like a split second to leap off and tackle him. So I got to judge how far away the horse is and where he's at. So the first time I jumped, it was perfect. I took him off, and the guy was 6 something, and I'm only like 5'8". I've lost a half inch because of all my injuries, so I'm 5'7.5" now. But so he was supposed to get up on the knee. I take him out. I turn around. Another guy comes with a rifle. I do a judo throw, hit him with that, jump on a long, tall horse, and right out of the scene, whooping and screaming with hooping and hollering with a rifle and, attacking, because there was a battle that was going on. So everything was happening. Okay. Well, they come back and said, Richard, you missed the shot. I go, what? You missed the shot, because the guy stood up. He was still supposed to be on the knee. So they didn't catch my shot hitting him. He blocked it. I go, golly, that was perfect. Okay, let's do it again. So the second time, and Jeff was telling him, cream him, because this guy creamed Jeff on another movie. So now he knows this guy's going to come, but he didn't know that I don't play like that. I'm not going to hurt anybody. So all I do is I touch you, and that's up to you to sell it. So when I did it the second time, he slid off of the horse before I was like 4 feet away from him, and he slid off the horse. So I hit the ground, and at that time I didn't know I herniated my disc. So I get it. That's asphalt, remember? So I get up. We did it the third time. The third time, when I went to take him off, the horse took a step, because now this horse knows what's going on. Movie horses, you only get a few tries because they know what's happening. He knows this guy's jumping off a building, so they changed the horse. So we had to do it on the fourth time. So this other stunt guy said, Richard, he's afraid of you. Why don't you just land on the horse and then roll off with them? And so when I climbed up there, I had a voice. All my life I've had this. I wrote a book about it that told me, you're going to break your leg. And I'm going, oh shit, because I know this inner voice. It's not a voice. It's not my voice, but it's communication. It's telepathy. I guess my spirit guide, and that's who it really is. So my spirit guide's telling me you're going to break your leg. So I'm going, darn, so now I got to be extra careful. So they go, are you ready? I'm ready. We went to do it. When I went to take them off, everything went wrong, and I landed on one leg and I shattered my leg. So I was, they said I wouldn't be able to do stunts for a couple of years, but I was back working in 6 months,
Yeah.
So,
all right. It happened. Since you brought it up, let's talk about the book.
A Shaman's Tale. Yeah. The predecessor is Aura of Consciousness. Now, this one I wrote and published myself. I did the artwork. Again, my first degree is in fine arts. Right. And of course, self-publishing, it doesn't get a lot of volume or exposure. But this one guy, publisher, found it on CreateSpace, which is a subsidiary of Amazon. And he sent me an email. I deleted it, sent it 4 times. Said, what the heck's wrong with you, man? I'm trying to help you with your book. I thought he was a con man, but he was one of the big publishers in LA. He publishes all books on how to make a film, how to direct, how to all this. So I researched and go, oh my God, this guy's, big time. So I said, okay, you're going to rewrite it. I had 9,000 something words here. We took it down to 6,000 words on that one. And I had to delete some of the chapters. And he said, because the first one was too offensive. I mean, because I shoot from the hip, I tell the truth. And I don't care if I offend people. The truth is always going to piss somebody off. But this is my truth, you know. So there's 3 truths: your truth, my truth, and the truth. But my truth comes from experience. So that book, A Shaman's Tale, is an argument against belief systems. But what it does, it puts a focus on the paranormal and also on spirituality, a higher awareness. Now, Inosanto has 12 training areas. You know this. And the very last one is spirituality. Right. But they don't teach that. And I told him, hey, Guru, I'm a medicine man. I don't know what he knows about that, but he should know something about shamans. because he's Filipino. And, I went to the Philippines and worked with shamans there and in Hawaii. And I trained with the Mescalero Apache medicine people for about 25 years, off and on. And when I reached full-fledged medicine man, I walked away from it because I felt that only full-blood Apaches should be in the medicine teepee. Even though I was there for 25 years standing behind my medicine teacher, I learned the songs, everything about the teepee, about the ceremonies, all that. But I felt that I had a different calling. So I got my degree in psychology, and I mixed it. And I share a chapter in there called psychosocial psychology. So in my 12 areas of training, the very last one is spirituality, but I teach that. People hire me, and, they come to the ranch, and I help them with certain issues and the paranormal experiences. I've had very extreme, profound experiences with the supernatural. And, there's two types of knowledge. And, Bruce Lee was a philosopher. So it's very important for people as martial artists to incorporate philosophy. It's a tool.
But a lot of them don't think that, Richard.
Pardon me?
A lot of people, especially some people in Jeet Kune Do, they're not interested in that part.
They're not. They're just interested in learning how to fight. But that's not the true path of a warrior. It's only one part.
Yeah.
Look at all of your extreme masters. What do? They go in a cave and they go to seek enlightenment.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of did that here in New Mexico. I was a stuntman in California, not here. But here I was lucky that I made some pretty good money in LA. So when I retired, I was going to get my PhD over here at the university. And they discounted and rejected my dissertation proposal on psychospiritual psychology. They said it was borderline witchcraft. I said, okay, then I'll go on my own. I'll publish on my own. And that's what I did. But,
hey, let me ask you a funny question. Can you find enlightenment in California, in Los Angeles?
Absolutely. You know where it's at? Where it's at? Right here.
Inside of you. Yeah.
It's inside of you.
Yeah.
Now, there's two types of knowledge. And this is what I was talking about philosophy. There's a knowledge that we all know. We go to universities for. What we do is we gain information. We rehearse it. We replicate it. We bring more information, and we're always growing. Science is not the same as it was 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. Can we agree? It's always moving.
Yeah.
Well, that's knowledge. True knowledge is what a shaman, a mystic, and a sage understand and know. True knowledge is instant knowledge. You don't need to go to university. It's instant. But the only way you can know this is to go into the other dimension, the other realm. So an authentic shaman is someone who lives in two worlds, this world and the etheric world. And I don't want to say fortunately, maybe unfortunately, because it's not an easy life. I've experienced both worlds. I mean, read the book and you'll see my experiences. But the profound experiences that I've had started when I was 5 years old. I've had them when I was in Vietnam. I should have died 5 times. And, I was saved 5 different times. I think I only shared one in the book, and I don't really, talk too much about it, but it's guidance from your spirit guide, So to understand that is to advance yourself. And one tool to get you there, higher spiritual awareness, consciousness, is meditation. Meditation is about quieting your mind. That's impossible. Meditation is about connecting yourself to that other dimension, but before that, to your spirit guide. Once you open yourself, then your spirit guide will guide you through that. It's extremely subtle, extremely subtle. So I developed Balik meditation. Now, Balik is a Tagalog term that means to return. So Balik kali Silat is return of the lightning hand. And Balik, I use it in spirituality as return to the spirit self.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be from India. You don't have to be Native American. All you have to do is be a human being, and you can evolve towards a higher spiritual consciousness. And periodically, I don't advertise. People will find me, and I've got some crazy stories on that. And so that's how I serve them, And
Yeah.
of course, I charge them for my time, but
Yeah.
they walk away with something.
So that approach, how did Pete Jacobs and Bob Bremer? Because okay, so if you're known as the official ass kicker, that doesn't sound to me like you would be particularly philosophical.
Well, there is philosophy in kicking ass and knowing what to use, So they were influenced by, let's face it, if you're around Sigun Bruce, you're going to be influenced. And
yes,
the stories. Part of my training was the hours of training and then the hours afterward. I mean, we'd take beer and wine and we'd sit there till sometimes 11, 12 o'clock at night just talking.
Yep.
And Bob would drive from, where was he at? Oak Hills, not Oak Hills, way out there by, anyway, out in the desert, man. And he would drive a pretty long. Dennis Blue would come and Sonny Bigham. I don't know if you know him. He's a big old guy, man. And he was interesting. I think he was an ex-Special Forces. So was Dennis Blue. But it was the stories afterwards. And Bob wasn't a philosopher, but there was some philosophy in how he saw things. He didn't see, he wouldn't adhere to any of the BS. He would tell you, no, that's not going to work. Like when we would bring something. So through Bob and Pete, I learned how the machine run. I learned to do from Randy Williams. The only training I got from him was a dummy set. It's a 108 dummy set, but in reality, there's 316 moves. And I learned it in 3 lessons. 3 lessons.
Yeah.
That's almost impossible. So he was leaving to Singapore, and he said, and there's another story how I met him. I sent him one of my senior students, and he didn't think that was right. Who's this guy that's sending me a senior student? Because I told my student, don't tell me you know anything. But if he asks you, then don't lie, tell him.
Right.
And then he saw that he was doing everything he was doing. He said, you trained before. Who'd you learn from? He said, well, Ricardo, he's right down the street, because I was in Montebello and he had a school in San Gabriel. So I met Randy. We became friends. He was going to Singapore. He says, hey, I'm doing crash courses. Do you want some of my Wing Chun? I said, you know what, Randy? I know modified. I don't have the time for that, but I sure would like to learn the dummy set from you. We did our dummy routine. It was just freestyle, but I wanted to learn the traditional from Ip Man.
Right.
And so he said, okay. So I trained 2 hours with the class and then 3 hours after class till midnight for 3 days. And I learned the whole set. And after he goes, I don't believe you learned it in 3 sessions. I go, well, you got to understand, I know how the machine runs. I learned that from Pete Jacobs. He goes, well, welcome to the classical mess. So I learned structure in Wing Chun from Randy Williams.
Yeah. Right. So you've used the phrase a few times now, but I don't know if I grasp it fully. The way the machine runs from Pete Jacobs. Yeah. Okay. Break that down for me.
Let's say you're a mechanic and all you've worked on are Chevys, specific years, and that's all you know was 65, a 66, 68, that engine. And then they bring a Volkswagen to you or a Mercedes, you're screwed. But if you understand the mechanics of what makes an engine run, you can do anything. Right. So for example, I heard of Silat and then one of my clients at the shop, he said, yeah, I'm over here training with this guy. I've only been with him 3 weeks. Will show me what Silat is. And he was telling me at that time we didn't have the internet. And so I said, well, I'd like to go and, visit this guy. Okay, well, I'm going this, Saturday. So I went with him and I walked in and you got to be humble. I didn't tell him I knew anything. And then he goes, and I look on the wall and he's got Randy Williams' poster of the 108 moves. So I'm looking and I go, do you do Wing Chun? He goes, yeah, a little bit. I go, oh, do you know Randy? I go, yeah, I know him a little bit. Also, you've trained it, and I didn't lie. I never really trained with him, but I looked at the dummy set from him and all that. And he goes, okay, my student was telling me that you're interested in Silat. He says, I've never seen it before. I've heard about it. Can you please share with me what makes it work? What is the core of Silat? And then he told me. And then I said, can you perform what you're telling? And he did. I go, oh, like this? So I started doing it. And he goes, you've trained in Silat before. I go, no, I haven't. But I know how the machine runs.
Right. Huh.
So I go with, now at Inosanto's, a lot of people don't. When you train with Guru Inosanto, you're not just learning one kali, you're learning a plethora. Because when I was there, was like 25 different systems.
Yeah.
So from Bahalana, who was the Grandmaster Bahalana?
Leo Heron.
Hiron, yeah, Grandmaster Hiron. He was doing a seminar. So there were so many people there, and we always make sure to support the teachers that come in. Right. So Bob and I, we let everybody in the school. So a few of us were on the outside, in the parking lot. Well, I didn't know that one of Guru Hiron's students was right next to me. And I said, hey, Bob, which numbering system? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Or is it this one? He goes, I think it's this one. And then the guy steps in and he goes, no, this is our numbering system. And he did about 2 or 3 moves. I go, oh, okay, this is it. He goes, yeah. He goes, how many systems do you guys know? I said, we got to know 25. He goes, what? So then he's watching us, and me and Bob were doing whatever drill they were doing. Right. And he goes, let me step in there. I know what he was going to do. He was going to try to cheap shot me, Yeah. So I look at Bob, and Bob looks at me, and he kind of gives me that smile. And, I always train with a light stick. I don't come with these big old belly clubs, And so he had a pretty big stick. So he came 100% on me, and boom, boom. And I took it out and disarmed him. And then he looks at me, picks up the stick, and walks away. And I look at Bob, and Bob, because why am I telling you this? Whenever you train in a system, don't think that yours is the ultimate. There's always another one out there. I know this, and most people that train with Inosanto know that in some, there's a hidden art that one of these days is going to come to the U.S. and it's going to blow everybody away, just like Jiu-Jitsu did, just like Kali did. Before it was a Korean art, then Bruce came in with Kung Fu. Then, of course, Kali was more underground. And right now, a lot of people don't know about Silat. I've been trying to get the chance to expose Silat, especially Harimau. I trained with Pindakar Herman Sawanda for 6 years as a private student. I never got paperwork from him, but I got in a video from him giving me full rights to teach it. He goes, that is your certification right there. So with that, I didn't train in any of his other systems. I trained his systems through Inosanto, the Mandamura, Penchat Silat, but with Pindakar Suwanda, I just focused on Harimau. Now, he said there's only 2 of us that know his Kembangan. That's me and another guy in Northern California, I think some Hispanic guy. Now, the other guys, especially the guys that went to Indonesia, train with him, they didn't learn his system. They learned his sisters. And he was angry because Paula didn't send me over there they had this, what is it called? They had a sponsorship, and they picked 2 other people, and rightly so, they're some of the advanced guys, but nobody had trained more with Pindakar Suwanda than me, but they didn't know that, but I was performing it. So he said, why didn't you go? I said, they didn't choose me. And he was pissed, so he said, well, I said, hey, there's politics and everything. I said, that's okay, and so some of his old Harimau, there's only 2 of us that know it. And then after he started adding on other people's Harimau, and then we lost him in Germany, him and his wife, sadly. But his sister and his brother-in-law, and I think his brother, are continuing Monday Moda. And you could see videos and stuff like that. It's an awesome art. But like always, I always see Harimau is the filler. Alone, in my opinion, it's not good just to master one. You need to know various. And Harimau is to fill that gap. So how many times in the UFC where you see a guy in the back and a guy standing up and the guy on his back doesn't know what to do? Well, that's an advantage to a Harimau practitioner. That's where I want to be. I want to be on my back, and you think you can punch me and kick me. I'll break your knee. I'll take you down. Easy. But they don't know that yet. So I've been trying to expose it on film, and I got a chance to do Mortal Kombat. Pat Johnson was the stunt coordinator. I went there, and there was a lot of, kung fu and Korean guys, fancy kicks. So as here comes, the Pat and producers and directors, whatever. There was this kid that was staring at me. So I look at him, and every time I look, he's looking at me. And I'm going, maybe he saw me on Dr. Quinn or another movie or whatever. So anyway, everybody performs. And then Pat comes to me last. He goes, okay, Richard, what do you got? I said, Pat, I don't do any of that. And Pat was a karate guy. He did the Karate Kid and all that. Very good martial artist, good stunt coordinator. And I said, I don't do any of that fancy stuff. I'm going to only show you Harimau Silat, and you've probably never seen it before. He goes, well, let's see what we got. So it just so happened Shioshi Abe was there. I go, hey, Shioshi, can you dummy for me? He goes, yeah. What are you going to do? I go, I'm going to do Silat, man, the Harimau. He goes, well, okay, good. So I started first the Lanka Harimau, which is you're walking on your knees, on your butt, and doing all of this stuff. Then I do it on the live, which was Shioshi, blew them away. So he brings the director over to me. Guess who's the director? That kid. The director of Mortal Kombat, 18-year-old kid, or he looked 18 years old, and he goes, hey, I really like what you're doing. I like your look. I go, I was wondering why you were staring at me. Really, that's really bad, look, although I'm a nice guy. So they were scheduling me to do a one-on-one with a lead guy, and he was going to kill me at the end. But they ran out of funding. And I think 2 weeks before, Pat called me and said, hey, they ran out of money, man. They can't use it. Oh, so man. I lost that chance. Yeah. And then I was going to be stunt coordinator on or fight choreographer on Scorpion King. So okay. Billy Burton Jr. was a stunt coordinator, and his dad was going to be second unit director. So Billy Burton Jr. told Senior, you got to see this guy, because I worked on 2 for Texas, and I helped Norman Howell. One day they turned the set over to me because he was blowing up somebody on the bridge, and I helped with a 500-man battle scene, and I did it all in 45 minutes because I used military tactics. I showed everybody a 3-count move, and I split it up in 4 boxes. So I could get this guy like A1 fight B1. And they would be able to do it, and I could move people around. So they were impressed with me. My God. Watch it. It's called 2 for Texas, starring Chris Christopherson, the Battle of San Cecito. And anytime you see a guy with a sword on the ground on a horse, that's me. So I was doing, horse tags. And so, but I still want to have that chance to show that and showcase it. There's a few movies that are showing it. That the John Wick series, that's a lot of Chad stuff. That's a lot of stuff that we do, and it's great stuff. I am so proud of what Chad is doing, phenomenal. And I also know the second unit director. Gee, what's his name? I've known him since he was a young guy, and he started. His name slips my mind, but
Jonathan Eusebio.
No, it's another guy.
No.
They're working together now on projects. His name will come to me. Oh, Darren Prescott.
Darren. Oh, okay. I know the name. I don't know him, but I know his name.
He's phenomenal, and he has a resume. I knew him when he was first starting. He was, rigging, and I met him at at a Thai restaurant. It just so happened we're both stunt guys, and we're both new in the
Right.
business. And, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what's up with Damon Carroll?
No, in fact, when we were going to do Scorpion King, him and Chad were there, and the rumor was I was going to be fight choreographer, and that's the last time I saw him. And I told him, "Hey, man, I'll bring you guys on," and that's what you do in the industry. You help people. Number one, they got to know their shit, and those guys know their shit. Number two, I know them, and number three, hey, when you guys get work, you should call me too. That's the way the industry works. But that's the last time I've seen him.
Have you done anything with Ron Balicki? Do you know Ron Balicki?
I don't know him that well.
Okay.
No, I've never done anything with him. Even though he trained at the academy, we never really talked or knew each other.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know him. Yeah.
But I mean, I tell people that Bruce Lee is alive and well in Hollywood, and they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Listen, man, you have no idea how many second generation Bruce Lee people, right, are in LA or working in the industry. They have no idea."
Yeah. And you said first generation, we're losing them. There may be 2 or 3 left. Maybe.
Yeah.
In the second generation, there's 2 of us that are the oldest. That's Bob Reich and myself. I'm going on 72, and Bob is around 72, 73.
Usually at the end, Ricardo, I ask people, who do they think I should get on the show? Do you think Bob Reich would be? You think he'd be willing? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He would do it. He's got a world of knowledge, of knowledge.
Okay.
And it's like right here in New Mexico, I'm probably the only one that has the JKD, the Kali Silat here. So I have a seminar March 11th. I did a couple of seminars when I first moved here, but I kind of told myself, hey, you know what? I want to go in my cave. I want to develop my ranch. So I stopped teaching for a while. Right. And I was teaching periodic privates, and they're usually military infantry officers in hand-to-hand and knife stuff like that. But I'm starting to teach again, and I'll be doing a seminar on the 11th. And then I'll start teaching once a week, the Kali and the Junfan JKD.
You're going to do it at the ranch?
I don't know if I want to do it at the ranch because I'm a very, very private person.
Okay.
And that's kind of my solitude there. Yeah. So if I find a building or a place, the seminar will be at a gun store, and they have this big room, and they're going to lease it to me, and I know those guys really well.
Right.
And I got hooked up with some guys that do concealed carry. That's really big here in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of sharing on that kind of stuff, and it's just to get people to learn to defend themselves in many aspects.
Yeah. What is there a growing film industry in New Mexico now, or
there
has
is.
there been? Yeah.
No, there really is. Both of my ranches, I own 2 ranches, and both of them are set up for film. We've already done 2 films here, and I have one here in the upper desert in Las Cruces, and I have another ranch outside of Ruidoso, which is equal to Big Bear. Okay. It's pine forest, mountains. I've got a beautiful piece of land there, and it's strictly for film. And before I was breeding and training wild horses. And so I'm getting too old to do that, I'm 72.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, now what I'm breeding, and I decided to turn my ranches into film. But see, nobody knows me here. Nobody will hire me to coordinate. Nobody will hire me even to do some fight choreography. They just don't know me here. And to be honest, they're still in their infancy. In Santa Fe and Albuquerque, it's big time. It's a new Hollywood.
Right.
All the coordinators I know, and all the wranglers, they're all over there in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. And then, of course, Atlanta, Georgia is a big one. So Las Cruces.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Yeah. So well, I have a Gerard Joseph is a friend of mine, a working actor in LA. And he told me, you got to be on Instagram. If you're in the film industry these days, he says you got to be on Instagram. So I don't know if that's something you might want to look into or have somebody look into for
Well,
you.
I have an Instagram, but I hardly go on it, and I don't promote it.
You're like me.
Like I said, I was mostly because I went to the meetings. I was told you should go join the board. You have a wealth of knowledge. I was a stuntman for a while.
Right.
I went to the meetings, and I told the head guy, "Hey, I'm interested because I'm teaching this young lady, and her mom was on the board, and she just left the board, and she told me there's an open chair." Said, "Well, just come to the meetings, and then we'll see." I went to like 8 meetings, nothing. And in the 8 meetings, I think I only had like 5 minutes to talk, and that was it. So I said, "Yeah, my time is too valuable." They're moving, but they're not moving fast enough. And I whatever I told them, they didn't get it. So I said, okay, they need to grow more. I'm out of here, And so one of the board, I think the chair, came to my ranch and said, "I'd like for you to come back." He didn't ask me to join, but he said, "I'd like for you." And I said, "Well, we have 2 different philosophies. So I think I'm just going to stay here and develop. The best way I could help Las Cruces is to develop my ranch." And I am. I mean, It's awesome what I've done. All my fencing, instead of metal, it's all wood. I'm building, the pins and, different things for modern and period. I have horses. I wrangle for productions. However, a lot of the productions are low budget and they can't afford me. I can't do it for free. It costs me money to feed my horses, and then I got to lease other horses and bring them in. So.
Yeah. There was a movie recently. I don't know if it was on Netflix or whatever. And part of the storyline was it was a ranch where they worked with horses for Hollywood. But it was a terrible movie. I couldn't finish watching it. It was just too bad.
Yeah,
but it reminded me of that.
And they did one for here. I mean, it wasn't very good either. It was starring Bruce Dern. I mean, a terrific actor. The lead actor was good, but I won't even mention the name. They filmed it here. I had a really bad experience with production. I know producers. I know you got to really watch your back, but it was really low key. It didn't go very far, and I watched it. I was disappointed. But the only good parts, and I'm going to be kind of how can I say this, pretentious on this, but the best shots were on my ranch. It was the ranch of Bruce Dern, who is a drug lord, and it was really good. And they did the torture scene in my barn.
Wow.
And even the first AD told the director, said, "Man, this is better than any soundstage in LA," because the way they did it, it was really nice. Yeah. So it has potential, and it's taking off here. So all I got to do is prepare myself. But I think if once I do one show as a fight choreographer and I show them and I tell them, just watch 2 for Texas or watch John Wick. A lot of those are our drills. A lot of that stuff, we can do, but you don't do it modern time. You do it period and whatever. John Wick is really good stuff because they do a lot of CQB, which is close quarter combat battle. And of course, period pieces will be more like horse stunts and knife stuff and, stick. And, I do the cheap shoot, which is flexible weapons, a rope, a cord, whatever. And, I just need a chance to show my stuff, but I'm not in a hurry to do it. But I know eventually there's going to be a production. I already got one that wants to film next year. They love my ranch. They want me to coordinate it, want me to do the choreography. So, but that won't be till next fall. So we'll see what happens.
As somebody who, I mean, you're a private individual, and you're somebody who has worked maybe even more on the inner aspects of humanity, or equally on the inner aspect. I wonder what your take is, because you've not gotten yourself involved in the Jeet Kune Do arguments that have existed for so long, right? But I wonder if it's because, like, you realize from the beginning, they're so trivial, they're so juvenile, really. It's not real life, is it? Arguing about this stuff.
Yeah. It's political. and even at the academy, there was politics, and I stayed away from that. I don't know if I should share this, but, I spent 9 years there, and I went through the apprenticeship program, and, 9 years, and I still didn't get my certification. And, I told Guru, and Guru took me in the room and said, Paula, give him a certification. It's here. Is it? Well, I never got it, because I wouldn't do what needed to be done, for the politics. So the last day, that I went up to Guru and I said, hey, Guru, I'm not going to be coming back anymore. I'm moving forward, and I just want to thank you, not only for the training, but for the love that you've shown me, as my father in the martial arts. And I said, and by the way, I still haven't got my certification. And he said, Richard, it's only paper. Right. They can never take your knowledge away. Right. So with that, I gave him a hug, and that paper meant nothing to me anymore. So, and paper has never meant anything. So what I did is soon after, I went to the Philippines, and I trained with Grandmaster Jose Mena of Dobliti, Rapilon, Arnis. Yeah. And I went with the Arnold Schwarzenegger of the Philippines, Larry Luxon, and he was 5-time Mr. Filipino bodybuilding champion. And so anyway, they rolled out the red carpet, and I trained with a lot of masters there. But every day I trained with Grandmaster Mena. I mean, this guy was 87, 88 years old. He was like 4'9", 87 pounds, but man, could this guy move. And as an old man, he could cut you up, so everything he did, I could do. He was impressed. So he made me 5th Dan. The highest is 8th Dan. He made me 5th Dan. And I told him, I'm thinking about organizing my own system with all the knowledge I gained from different masters I've trained with. I would like your permission to be able to incorporate a few of your stuff. And he said, yes, absolutely. In fact, you have my permission as a master to develop your own system. Right. So I developed Balik Kali Silat. And Balik Kali Silat, 70% of it is combat and 30% is art. People don't understand the difference between a martial art and martial combat. They don't understand it. Because in martial art, you can get hurt. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, all the katas and the form, they're beautiful, and it's part of the art. You should have that. Mm-hmm. But I don't train two what you can call forms that I know. One is the dummy set, the other one is Kembangan. And then I learned the Kempo 2-man set, black belt set. But I forgot it. And I don't practice any of that. Mine is strictly just for combat. And it's not pretty. And even a percentage of that doesn't work. So it depends. You got to understand timing, distance, rhythm, the JKD of martial sciences. That's what you have to understand. Yeah. So I stay away from the JKD. Paul, I don't even identify myself, even though a lot of people do, and rightly so, because I'm part of the JKD family. Mm-hmm. But now, Balik Kali Silat, I've evolved through my own JKD and made it my own.
Yeah, you're part of that group that I refer to as the invisible Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
It's in there, and you'll recognize it when you see it, but you don't put it up. And which is what Sifu Inosanto used to tell me all the time. All the old timers did that.
Yeah.
They never talked about it. Daniel Lee, for example, talked about Tai Chi. He didn't talk about the Jeet Kune Do. Right. Your article, it was 19 years that Pete Jacobs and Bob Bremer were silent.
Never said anything. And it took me a while to convince them. Right. And I told them, and they trusted me. So I go to Guru Dan. I said, Guru Dan, I got permission from Bob and Pete to do an article. And he looked at me and goes, what? Because they were in their caves. They never wanted to do anything like that. And Pete always taught in his garage, underground. Sometimes we had 13 students. Sometimes there was just me. But the majority, there were maybe 6 of us that were always, not always, but, and there's always outside information. So it was a great training experience, you know.
Right.
So anyway, Guru Dan comes out and he brings the actual roster from the Chinatown school.
Yeah.
And he goes, here. He goes, I hardly let anybody look at this.
Mm-hmm.
In others, for my article. So I looked at it. The card started at 100. That was Daniel Lee. Pete Jacobs' card was 104. And Bob Bremer was 105. The person with the most attendance was Bob Bremer.
Bob Bremer, yeah.
Yeah. And Pete only trained with Guru, with Sigun Bruce for about a year. And then he was training with Inosanto in the backyard of Inosanto. And that's another group that people should know about. And that's a group with Tim Tackett, you know, of course, Bob, Pete, who else was in there? Richard Bustillos, I believe. Huh? Yeah, and another one who we can't forget about is Steve Golden.
Golden, yeah.
He's still alive. Yeah. He's one of the guys that's still alive. And he came to Pete one time, and I trained with him. I'm going, wow, man, this guy, he's got it. And he goes, no, you got it. I go, you got it. We had mutual respect for one another. You know?
I keep trying to trick him to come on the show, but he just won't do it.
That's him. That's Steve.
Yeah.
But he's a wealth of knowledge. Maybe I'll talk to him for you. Maybe he'll see this program. And he's really an interesting person, extremely knowledgeable. He's one of the guys that's still alive. It's him, Guru Inosanto, and who's the other one that's still alive?
I think there's a guy who is not well known, not even to me, a guy named Peter Chin.
Okay, yeah.
I think he might have been even before the Chinatown school opened up.
Yeah.
Right. I think so. And I let's see. I can't really think of anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, but so it's
especially from the Chinatown era, you know, so you can only get it from your second generation. And I'm proud of a lot of people like Bert Richardson. He's put a lot of magazines. He's still doing a lot of YouTube videos and on. That's good. You know, he's getting older, but he was a young buck when I was at the academy. You know, those guys, they didn't know how old I was, you know.
Right.
You know, but they're all got gray hair now, and they're getting older, but they're still doing it. And I'm proud of them, and I'm happy that they're doing it. You know, you got a lot of the guys in the movie industry. But we're still out there. And I tell people, if you get a chance, train with some second generation guys, because they'll be gone.
Yeah.
You know,
I just thought of something. I just realized something. You are kind of like a blend of two other people. I don't know if you know them, Alfonso Tamez and Blaze Loom. Do you know those guys?
I've seen Blaze at the academy maybe twice.
Okay.
But I know he was training at the when Bustillos and Inosanto had their place.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You.
But I don't know him personally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's another one. He's a really, really good guy, but he's like you. I mean, I was kind of surprised that you agreed to come on the program, right? Because I know a lot of you old school guys are like, no, it's okay. I'll just watch, right? But I don't need to. Yeah. I don't need to be.
Well, number one, I know you because I've watched some of your programs, and number two, I'm in support of anyone who's doing what you're doing in the right way.
I appreciate that.
So kudos to you. So of course I'll support you and do that, you know. And there's a lot of people that want to know. They just don't need to hear it from me, but now they're hearing it. But and there's still so much more, you know. I have so many stories that, you know, I kind of think about it, you know, should I take it with me to the grave? You know, and I remember the first program I was on was for KCOP, and I had a producer that I had horses in LA and people didn't know it, you know, so I took him on a horse ride down the Rio Hondo River or whatever, and I had my horses at Whittier Narrows. But anyway, he goes, man, can I bring a camera next time I come out? I go, no. He goes, oh, I want to do a story on you. I go, no. So the executive called me and said, hey, Al tells me that, you're an interesting guy. I says, I don't think so. He says, yeah, we want to do a story on Native Americans. I said, well, I'll guide you to someone who's full blood. I said, I'm not full blood. So, well, if you want to do a story on Native Americans, you got to do it on the politics, you got to do it on the culture, and you got to do it on the medicine. That's what, and I'll guide you to people here in LA. I didn't know any medicine people here in LA, but they could interview, in New Mexico or whatever. And then they said, no, we want to do a story on you. So this story isn't on Native Americans. It's on Richard Alaniz. They said, yeah. I said, oh, okay, I still don't want to do it. And then finally, after 3 times, they talked me into it. I said, okay, don't ask me to dance, because I dance traditionally. Don't ask me to sing, because I sing traditionally. And don't ask me to speak the language, because I'm not a monkey. I'm not here for your entertainment. But if you want to know about the politics, about the situation and the spirituality, I can share that with you, and modern culture and the history, because where I'm from, I'm Pecos River people. We're a mixture of Comanche, Mexican, and Spaniards. And we did that to survive. And it's all from the Pecos River down to the Rio Grande, from Roswell, New Mexico, all the way down to Big Bend, Texas. That's my ancestral land, and that's why I moved back here. But anyway, so we did the program, and the interviewer was a rabbi, and he was a doctor of psychology. But he didn't do his homework. His questions were really bad, And then he asked me, well, how do Indians dress? I go, like you.
Oh, man.
But do they live in teepees? I go, no, they live in houses like you. Well, do they have teepees? Of course. Do you have a synagogue? You go to your synagogue to pray. Well, the teepee, they use it for ceremony and for tradition whenever there's a feast or anything. Oh, okay. Will they wear their garb? Only if they're going to dance. When you perform as a rabbi, don't you wear your garb? But so why aren't you wearing it now? So I had to, kind of battle with him. So I knew how to control it, even though he's a psychologist. Then he asked me, okay, what is Richard about? I said, he's about everything and about nothing. He goes, well, okay, what do you plan on doing with that? I said, what is the future? I said, one of these days, my grades are going to be long and gray, and some young person is going to come to me, and I'm going to cut them off and hand it to them. Knowledge. Mm-hmm. But they have to come.
Yeah.
Not for me to have grades.
I wonder if he thought that was a deep question.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
There's a lot of people who are in martial arts that don't know I'm a musician. They don't know I'm a cowboy. They don't know I'm a businessman. There's a lot of people who are musicians that I have a big group. They don't know I'm a martial artist. They don't know that I'm a cowboy. They don't know anything about that. So I have different groups of people that I interact with. Even a lot of my family here in New Mexico, they don't know everything about me, because it's not important for me to share all of that. They only need to know what makes them feel that part of me. That's all they need to know. And now a lot of them are finding out I'm a martial artist because probably
what you just described there, to me, that's a Jeet Kune Do man right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not somebody that fits into a single box and that's it.
Exactly.
That's it. No way. That's not the approach at all.
Yeah.
Never. Wow.
See, Bruce was a martial artist. He was an athlete. He was a philosopher. He was an artist. I mean, he was poetry. I mean, he did a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was, what was he doing? He was discovering things. He would put electrodes on his muscles. Well, they're doing that now. Just the muscles while he would read. So part of training in Jeet Kune Do is just not the Junfan, not the fighting. It's the philosophy behind it and how you can use it to benefit you in your life. And with me, traditional, indigenous culture and spirituality and the martial arts, including Jeet Kune Do, helped me as a combat veteran. So even now, I've been to the VA for the last 8 years. I think the first year really helped me, but after that, I was basically helping the counselor, because at that time I had a degree in psychology, but of course they couldn't hire me, and I'd help a lot of the combat vets,
Right.
and I had them read my book. And, if people want to purchase a book, they could either get this one or this one. I have them and I'll autograph them. I give more books away than I sell, but
Right. Yeah.
And the money I do get from it, which isn't a lot, I give to my grandkids for their education. But I ask people, don't buy it on Amazon. They're not printing it anymore. But the way it works, a lot of times some guy will buy whatever inventory and they'll really cut it cheap, and we don't get anything. I mean, 5-6 years I worked on that book and I'm not getting anything. I don't need the money, and the book is not for everyone. I don't want people to buy it just to buy it, but if they feel that I can help them with their personal experiences with the paranormal, and also things in their life that they're out of balance or they're on the fence of, maybe the book can help them, because it's like we're around a campfire and I'm sharing my stories.
Right.
And in the preface, I say, don't believe anything you read in this book, because it's an argument against belief. Only open yourself up to your own personal experience. So everybody is battling within themselves. There's two Dwights that are battling each other. One is the Dwight that wants to do certain things, and the other one that might have fear of doing things because maybe they're insecure or don't want to offend someone or whatever. But there's always this dichotomy.
Yes.
So hopefully this book helps you make an arrangement with yourself. And I use in psycho-spiritual psychology, which is a novel paradigm in the applied method, and I use it to help my people that come to me, as a spiritual counselor. I help them make a pact with yourself to understand it's okay to be this and that. You just have the power to one that has the best and the greatest good for yourself.
Okay. And so what would be the best way to get in touch with you then? Your email address?
Richard Alaniz at hotmail.com. I'm sorry, Rich Alaniz, RICHALANIZ at hotmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
Rich
right.
Alaniz.
I will be sure to add that to the notes for the show then, and then people will have a way to reach out to you. All right.
And in the future, I plan on bringing Bob Reich and a couple of masters from Hawaii to do a seminar. It'll be a weekend seminar, maybe at the ranch or whatever. People can come down. They could either get hotel rooms or they can camp or whatever, and it'll be a really, really good experience for them to train. In the Kali, the Silat, the Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, and the Hawaiian method of Lua. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but Lua is a very interesting, Hawaiian martial art.
The Lua is there perhaps even a Kali connection to it? Or
well, all weapon systems have a common thread. It's like the Knife American system. There's really not one here. If somebody tells you, oh, this is Apache knife fighting, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't agree. It's lost. It's gone. Most Native Americans that are trained in martial arts, they're doing something. It's not, they lost that. Even Comanche. However, there's so much you could do with a spear, bow and arrow, and a knife. So they're intertwined. There's a common thread. However, a lot of it is Kali. People that train in Kali and they try to pass it off as some, and that's okay. But you look at the Indonesian arts, they're similar too, but they all have their different flavors. Just
Yeah.
like in Kali, every village had their different flavor.
Right.
So there is a common thread, and it's good to know that. So their weapons from Hawaii are amazing. They have shark tooth clubs, they have stingray whips, they have spears made of, they have some awesome weapons that they use, material from that area. And the PA is the underground training center. And my understanding, probably Bob and myself are the only ones that have been allowed in there. And we're only allowed to do half of it. The other half is private. Yeah. And I gave a seminar there briefly, and then also a spiritual blessing for them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's wrap this up. James Bishop, who is somebody that that you would probably enjoy talking with.
Mm-hmm.
He's the author of Who Wrote the Tao. So he did the research on the original sources for Bruce Lee's notes in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. But James says that you move the books too fast. He wants you to put the books up on camera again.
Oh,
slowly.
Okay. The first one is A Shaman's Tale. And then this one is professionally published, but it's missing what I put here. My family and close friends, I prefer them to read this one because it's in your face. And there's chapters in there that's not in here, but this is better written and it's more condensed. So whatever you choose to, and they can email me and I can send them one autograph.
Okay.
They can also research me on Comanche Creek Film Ranch.com, and that'll show you the ranch. And people might enjoy coming down and seeing the seminar, and they can do a roundabout. Like when I have friends and family that come, there's a roundabout. They can come to Las Cruces, go through El Paso to the Carlsbad Caverns, then into Carlsbad, and there's a Living Desert Museum that's really nice. Then the UFO Center in Roswell, then the White Sands, and then back here. And the airport's right here in El Paso. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes from my ranch. And so they could research the terrain and all that. It's Comanche Creek Film Ranch.com.
Okay. All right, my friend. This has been an immense pleasure. I'm really glad we got a chance to do this, and we'll definitely do it again next year when you're getting ready to do that stuff. I mean, even before then, but definitely, anything I can do to help you to promote that next year for sure.
Great, and I'll give Steve Golden a call.
Yeah.
I'm still friends with Bob Bremer's wife. She's doing well right now. She's in her 90s. She's still really sharp, and I'm gaining a lot of history on Bob's life. I don't know if I'll ever share it, but I'm taking notes, and maybe one of these days I will do that. Who knows? Sharon Bremer, just a fabulous lady.
All right. Okay. Well, cool. Thank you so much again, man. I wish you all the best, and we'll do this again for sure.
Thank you, Dwight. Blessings to you, man. Blessings.
All right, man. You take care.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye. All right. I am so glad that 4 years ago I had the idea to do this, because it's like, this is one of the most gratifying things that I do. And it's like one of the best ways to spend a Friday evening. So that was episode number 252 of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. So I don't know if it came out in the comments, but I put Ricardo's email address, Rich Alaniz, ALANIZ at hotmail.com. I put that in there for you guys. I'll add in the final edit video. I'll put the website for the Comanche Ranch, and that's it. Right. So we will call that. We will call it. Okay. So that's everything. All right. So feel free, share, like, comment, ask questions. If there's anything I need to answer or that Ricardo needs to answer, I'll get it onto him. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D Woods. At paypal.me/unifiedma, you can get the. I really do have to step this up in terms of publishing books, and I promise you I will. But at paypal.me/unifiedma Miami, the Jeet Kune Do Journey Volume 1, raw but edited version, is available. You can support the show at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this. The Unified Martial Art Academy Kali JKD t-shirt, also available in long sleeve hoodie, sweatshirt. Is this one available as a coffee mug? I think it is, but you can get that jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link. All right. Next Friday, I think everything has calmed down in his neck of the woods, so we will be on with Mahipal Lunia, and that should be at 6 p.m. the regular time. So look forward to that. But before that, next Wednesday, we'll have another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. I'm trying to upgrade things in as many small ways and maybe even big ways if everything works out in 2023 with what we do here. But more on that as I develop everything. Okay, so until the next episode, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy your weekend. Talk soon. Take care.